Hi there, welcome to Bright Hope. This week's message was called The King's Decree, and it's set on Ezra 4 and Ezra 5. It's a great story. The Israelites have been in captivity for about 70 years. Then the Persian king, who's in charge at that time, he says, you know what? The Lord has spoken to me. Return to rebuild your city, rebuild Jerusalem, rebuild the temple, settle there and make a life for yourself. So there are actually three groups over quite a long period of time. Three groups take their time and they get back and they begin to re-establish. The first one is with a guy called Zerubbabel. Then the second group comes with Ezra, and the third group comes with Nehemiah. So this first group gets there, and the first thing they do is they start rebuilding the temple. They know that this is the center of everything we're supposed to do. It's got to be centered around the Lord. So they're doing that, but the enemies have taken over beforehand. They've been there during that 70 years. And so they see the Israelites rebuilding the temple, and they start to get involved, and they actually come into the building process, and they say, can we help you build the temple? The enemies say, can we help you build the temple? At that point, Zerubbabel turns around and says, no, you're the enemies, so no thank you, we'll build it on our own. And so they set about trying to discourage the people of Israel. They start to make them fearful. They start bribing the officials. They start to make a lot of problems. And actually, at the end of it, they send a letter to the new king, because this a period of time has passed. A new king has come in. So this king gets this letter, and basically the enemies have said, look, this city is being rebuilt. And if you look at the history of this city, they've got a pretty messed up history. They're always fighting with everybody. They don't want to follow anybody else's rules. They have their own God, and they're not willing to accept anybody else. They will not pay taxes, and they're probably going to build themselves up, and then they're going to rebel. And the minute that you say to a king taxes, then everything starts going, hey, wait a minute, we've got to start investigating. So the new king investigates their past. Now this is very clear how the enemy wants to operate in our life, how he wants to come against what God wants to do in your life. He comes against you with fear. He comes against you with intimidation. He comes against you with discouragement. He wants you to throw in the towel. He wants you to see the size of the task ahead and for you to say, no, I can't do that. And if that doesn't work, then what he'll probably do is remind you of your past. And he'll say everything, that you've done, and he'll bring it all up. And, it really sucks being judged over our past, because, we've probably all done some really messed up things. So the king sees the history of this nation, the history of this city, and he says, you know what, they are a rebellious city, stop the work. And he sends letters, so the enemies immediately jump on that, and they say, you know what, you have to stop everything. A little time passes, and then these two prophets, they arise. They are around at this time, and they come forward and they start encouraging the people. And it's Haggai and Zechariah, and it says in Ezra 5 that they started prophesying, and they start declaring, you know what, the Lord's work. This is what we're supposed to do, and it encourages the people once more, and they start rebuilding. Now the enemies get wind of this once more. They get annoyed once more, and they say our plans are not working, and they once again write to the new king. And the new king gets a letter from the enemies again saying everything that they've done. And he says, you know what, we should look at what the king has declared over this city. And he starts to investigate, and they uncover the king's decree, the original decree which Cyrus made over the nation, over the city of Jerusalem. And at that point, he responds to the letter, and he says, you know what, leave those people alone. The king has decreed that city must be rebuilt. The king has decreed that the nation should be there, that the temple should be there, that the Lord actually spoke about it. And you know what? When the king declares something, it doesn't matter what the enemy wants to do. What the enemy plans against us, God will turn it for our good. And not only does he say, leave them alone, he actually says, you know what? We're supposed to support them and pay for everything that they're rebuilding. So from the tax that is collected, you guys will pay for this temple and this city to be rebuilt. That is amazing how everything the enemy plans, the Lord can use it. And that's what happened with Jesus. The enemy thought that on the cross it was his victory, that he would be able to destroy the Son of God, that he would be able to take down God himself. And he thought that on the cross, perhaps we could argue that that was Jesus' weakest moment. But you know what? That's our victory. And what the enemy meant for evil, that resulted in him overcoming sin, overcoming death, and giving life to us. That anyone who believes in Jesus, he's our champion. He's gone before us and he's conquered all of that. And we can say the enemy meant, all this evil, but it's actually turned out for good. Thank you ever so much. Be blessed. We'll see you on Sunday at Bright Hope. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a great time. Have a great week and we'll see you soon.